Welcome back to DaBoot Tragedies. We're going to talk about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, the best nickelback in the game, in his words, and a lot of Saints fans' words as well. He's sitting himself out of practice from time to time because he's working on a new deal. He wants a new extension before the season starts, and we can't blame him for that. He's outplayed his contract. He was a fourth-round pick out of Florida. He's basically was drafted to play nickel. You know, a lot of guys you're drafted to play safety or outside corner, and then they just move him to nickel. But I think he was actually drafted by the Saints to play nickel. One of the first teams to do that, at least that I can remember. But he's had a 4-year, $3.3 million contract. That's your deal. If you're a fourth rounder at that pick, that's what you're going to make. So there's nothing the Saints could do about that when he was drafted. But he's outplayed that by a large margin, like a super large margin. So I can understand him not want to get hurt, in his contract year, even though I know he's going to ball out this year. But just the chance of getting hurt is too big of a risk, man, when I say only, hand quotations on only, when you've only made $3.3 million in your career, when you can have a chance to make $20, $30, $40 million. You don't want to risk that injury. Like I said, he definitely has a right to want to get paid. He's outplayed that contract by a wide margin. And we'll take a look around the league, man. Some of the best nickel corners in the NFL, in my opinion. I want to look up their contracts and we'll talk about them. We have Kenny Moore from the Colts. He signed 4 years, $33 million. That is $8.25 per year. That is a solid contract for a nickel cornerback. That's on the higher side. Then you have Mike Hilton from the Bengals, who I think actually had the best year at nickel this past season. He signed a 4-year, $24 million deal. That's $6 million per year. Then you have Jonathan Jones from the Patriots, and we know they don't like to pay players. He signed 3 years, $21 million. That's $7 million per. Then you have Teron Johnson. He signed 3 years, $24 million. That's $8 million per year. So you basically have a bunch of guys between the $6 to $8 million range. I think that's a very, very good deal for a nickel cornerback. I'm assuming CJ wants to be the highest paid, man. He thinks he's the best guy in NFL, and he has a right to think that. But he has to meet the Saints in the middle, or he doesn't. Hey, it's his right not to meet him in the middle. But I think anywhere from $6 to $8 million for CJ, the Saints need to get this deal done immediately. If that's his price range, it should be no talks. It should be no ifs, ands, buts. Sign the man today. Get this over with. Let him join back, in the full team practices and things like that. Now, if he's asking for $10 million plus, like I said, the highest guy right now is $8.25 million. And if he wants that, I can understand the pause from the Saints, because you have a Davenport contract that's coming up. You have a McCoy contract that's coming up. I think McCoy is probably first on that list, in my opinion, of the guys, in their age group that needs that new contract extension. I think McCoy should be first on that list. So if the Saints are hesitant to give him that money right now just to see what the market does, just to see what they do with McCoy, I can understand that. But if it's a $6 to $8 million range, I promise you, do it now, or it'll end up like, I don't know if y'all watch baseball, but Aaron Judge was just in a contract negotiation with the Yankees this past offseason. They didn't give him a deal. He played in the contract year. Now he's about to win MVP, and now they're going to either not afford him or he's going to break their bank. So for me, personally, a guy in a contract, if you could get him $6 to $8 million right now, sign him today. Get this out of the way, man. He's a guy that embodies the New Orleans spirit. We need him on this team, and he's just a heck of a football player. So we'll see where this takes us. Hopefully he's not holding out, missing games, anything like that. I doubt it'll get to that level. But we'll see. Like I said, man, if they let this linger and it gets to next season, they have to bid against teams in the open market. These players take it offensive when you don't sign them. If you draft them, don't re-sign them. I promise you, these guys take it to heart. You can look at Marcus Williams, man, or y'all, if they feel like you're not going to pay him, so they'll just leave, even though the Saints came close to matching what he wanted. But that's neither here nor there. I can see Gardner-Johnson doing the same thing. That's why I think the Saints should lock him up right now. I've had my complaints about Gardner-Johnson in coverage. I think he's still a work in progress. I think he's above average at coverage and perfect everywhere else. And if he works on that, I can actually give him that title of best nickel in the NFL. But if not one, he's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. He's top 5 for sure, man. I don't care where you rank him, but he's really, really good at his position. Nickel cornerback is becoming very important in the NFL, because no teams are running 2 receivers no more. Everybody's going to at least 3 to 4 receivers, tight ends like that are basically receivers nowadays. So that nickel position is very important. And before I get out of here, I will touch on Alontae Taylor, because I could see the Saints thinking ahead. Obviously, they knew Gardner-Johnson was coming to a contract extension. Maybe just how the Marcus Williams situation played out, we wasn't prepared for that. We didn't have a safety on roster that could just replace him if he were to leave. So I think the Saints really thought they were going to get him back. I think they were thinking ahead, which is Gardner-Johnson situation. Maybe if he doesn't come back, Alontae Taylor takes that role. Maybe Roby comes back for another year, takes that role. But I do think the Saints have guys on the roster that could replace him next year if he were to leave. Obviously, we don't want that to happen, but I do like that the Saints are planning ahead, getting guys at backup positions, with guys coming up with contracts situation. So let me know what y'all think in the comments below, even though I know that everyone's gonna think, man, pay the man, pay the man, pay the man. But I know we're gonna all say that, but you can't just go paying players blindly. You have to have some control of the cap, even though we know Mickey Loomis and those guys are cap gurus up there. We don't want to have to do that every season, man. We want to kind of just, you know, get the cap under control. And if it's 6 to 8 million range, even 6 to 9 million range, hey, pay the man. If it's 10 plus, hey, be hesitant. Do what y'all think is best for the team. But I do think he's worked every penny that he wants, and hopefully he gets his money. As always, this is DaBoot Tragedies, and I'm out.